Hello, everybody. I'm Halona Black. Welcome to another video. I work with consultants, founders, and professionals to turn what they know into writing that actually attracts clients and opportunities. Today, we are talking about your email newsletters, specifically what to write in your newsletter without running out of ideas. A lot of people have always say, well, I can't write a newsletter or I can't be consistent with my newsletter because I don't know what to write about. And I get that. Um, if you don't know what to say, you feel like you get stuck. It's not always necessarily a lack of ideas, but more so a lack of structure. So I'm going to give you a simple way to write your next 3 emails that you can actually repeat on a cyclical basis. Every 3 weeks, it's the same thing. So your newsletter should actually rotate between 3 types of emails. The first one is a perspective. Second one is a real situation. Third is a clear recommendation. And so I'm going to walk you through each one of these and offer you some examples so that hopefully you will have some good ideas of where to go in your next email newsletter. So let's start off with the perspective email. This is where you say what you believe about your field. So you'll start off with something like, most people think this, but what I actually see is this. Or you might say something like, one thing I see a lot of people get wrong is blank. So some real examples. If you are, I don't know, a lawyer who does estate planning, right? You might start off by saying most families think that estate planning is about documents. In reality, it's about conversations they've been avoiding for years. And then you'll go to tell them why, that is your perspective on estate planning. If you were a health coach, you might say, most people think they need a strict diet to lose weight. But what I see is people who need consistency, not restriction. Your perspective. It's not about being right or wrong. It's simply more about what it is that you've seen as a result of your personal experience in your field of expertise. Because remember, people are coming to you for your particular expertise. And so they want your perspective. And then you're going to explain what it is, why it is that you feel, you're going to explain your perspective and why it is you feel the way that you do, in 2 to 3 paragraphs. Next email, the real situation email. This really comes from something that has actually happened in your real life, in your experience, preferably with working with a client, maybe a conversation you've had, or maybe even a pattern that you've noticed in the people that you work with. And so with this email, there's generally a structure. You'll talk about what happened, what stood out, and what it showed to you. What did you learn from this particular interaction? So for an example, if you're a consultant, you might start the newsletter with, I spoke with a founder last week who hadn't followed up with a potential client in over a month. And this is what happened. This is why I think that this behavior happens, right? So if you're a consultant, you might consult with this founder on why they hadn't followed up with a potential client. And maybe this is a pattern that you recognize in some of the people that you actually consult with. So you want to share that experience, share that knowledge, share it so that other people can learn from it. And while you're doing that, you are explaining to people that you are, in fact, an expert at what you do. If you're a financial advisor, for example, you might start off saying, I had a conversation recently with someone who had been meaning to invest for years, but kept waiting for the right time. So, as a financial advisor, this is probably something that you see all the time in families. You working with families, stuff happens. People wait till the last minute to plan things. People, deaths occur in families. We all know that. People wait until there's some sort of an accident. Health can't be reversed. Then all of a sudden, the right time comes along, and here they are, and they're coming to you for financial advice. So, number 3, the recommendation email. This is where you tell people what to do. This is where you're giving your recommendations. You want to keep it very simple and you want to be direct. So if you start with, if you're trying to do blank, here's what I'd focus on. If I were advising a client on this, here's where I would start. So for an example, if you're a lawyer, if you've been putting off estate planning, here's where I would start. If you've been putting off estate planning, here is where I would start. You can just, you might tell them you can decide who you trust to make decisions for your family. You need to have one honest conversation with your family and then talk to an attorney. You might have, steps. Those might be 3 steps that you might go through if you were an estate attorney or estate lawyer. Um, Talking about estate planning with your clients. If you're a business coach and you're talking about if you're trying to get your first client, here's what I would focus on. Number 1, you might make a list of 10 people in your network. Number 2, you reach out and you start conversations. Number 3, you offer to solve one specific problem. And you just basically draw that out in one whole email. So if you wanted to plan out your next 3 emails, I'm going to give you 3 topics. Email number 1, you can write this down, take out a pen and paper. If you needed help with figuring out what to write for your next 3 emails, this is what you're going to write. You're going to do email number 1. What do people understand about your work? Or, I'm sorry, let me go back. What do people misunderstand about your work? What do people misunderstand about your work? So this is your perspective email. What do people misunderstand about your work? There's always something about your work. For me, I'm a writer. People always misunderstand that my work is, like I'm hanging out at the beach and doing writing, and just waiting on creativity to show up before I can write. And that's absolutely not true. If I sat around and waited for creativity to hit me, I'd never get any writing done, right? So, what do people misunderstand about your work? Second email. What's a recent situation that stuck with you? This is your personal experience. What's a recent situation that stuck with you, particularly as it pertains to your work with your clients? A story about someone else that might relate to the work that you do. So what's a recent situation that actually stuck with you? And email number 3. Write this down. What do you keep telling people over and over? What do you keep telling people over and over? There's always some level of advice, certain steps that you keep finding having to repeat, some sort of basic advice that people who are not in your industry just seem to miss. But it's very simple and you can share it in an email. And those are all things that will help to make you look like the expert that you are. And when people start to trust that you are the expert that you are, they are more likely to turn to you when they need help in that area. So when you write these emails, how much are you writing? Really, I always say you should write as much as you need. But for people who don't write, they're like, I need a word count. Okay, so it could be, if you're, a person who does less wordy stuff, it could be 300, 400. For me, generally 600 to 800 words, I think is great, which is about a full page, typewritten page, if you pay attention to that. You want to stick with one idea and you want to use clear language. Don't try to sound impressive using a bunch of jargon and industry related jargon that people cannot understand. What people really like is when you can sort of take, you know, the language that you use with colleagues within your industry and you kind of break it down, not dumb it down, but you want to break it down into a way that other people who don't really understand the ins and outs of your industry, you want to be able to break it down into language that helps them to understand more of what you do so that they can feel like they have a trusted partner in you, if that makes sense to you at all. You don't want to talk over people, use language that they're not going to understand or read. But if you show up as the translator for the industry, you show up as the person who can communicate why it is that they need you, and that should they hire you, once they pay good money to be able to work with you, they need to be able to feel like you are going to be on their side. And so when someone reads your emails, they should clearly understand, number one, how it is that you think. How it is that you think. And of course, everybody has a different way of thinking. All lawyers don't think the same way. All, business coaches don't think the same way. You need to be able to share what your particular perspective on, building an online business from scratch, what that looks like. Um, you should be able to share what it is that you notice in your experience. What is it that you notice amongst the clients that you work with? Or if you don't have any clients, what is it that you notice amongst people who could potentially be your clients? And then number three, you want to always be able to explain how it is that you can help people. And these are the three things lead people, that will lead to people replying to your emails, people who book calls with you, and asking how it is that they can work with you. And so if you've been stuck, pick one of those three that I just gave you and write it this week. You don't have to plan out 5 emails to start, just one and send it and see how that goes. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to stay consistent with this without it taking over your entire week. How do you stay consistent with newsletter writing so that it doesn't take over your entire week? And if you want help turning this into a clear plan for your business, if you want to know what to write, how it connects to your offers, and how to stay consistent, I offer a 60-minute newsletter strategy intensive. We sit down for an hour, we map your newsletter strategy out so you're not guessing every single week. The link, if you're interested in that, is below in the description box. All right. So if you like this kind of content and this is useful for you, for your business, I really like to talk to people who are seeking to write. Maybe you're an author, a coach, consultant, founder of some kind, but people who are really looking to be able to create some sort of freedom in their business, which is why I'm talking about email right now. I have been, let's see, I've lived outside of the United States since 2018, and I've lived in 10 countries. I've done more traveling than that, but for the purpose of the video, I've been traveling full-time since I've lived outside of the United States full-time since 2018. And so people always ask me, how is it that I'm able to do that? And it's because I have an online business that I can take with me wherever I go. And that business takes different form. Well, not that it takes different forms, but I have different income streams in my business. And so email is one of the ways that I am able to connect with people and to be able to offer services, sometimes products that help them to be able to build the thing that they want to be able to create so that they can have a business that they can take with them when they start to travel or start to plan to be able to travel and live a life that is fulfilling to them. Um, so yeah, if you're interested in connecting with me, all of my links are in the description box. And that's all I have for today. I'll see you tomorrow.